Good evening, everyone. Good morning, wherever you are. Thanks for being here. It's me, Ari Dossett, with another live stream. Just call me Rashid. I'm an anthropologist and sociologist, and I'm going to explain the difference between community, society, and the public. All right? So, yeah, society. I think we need to use another stick over here. Hold on. You have society over here. And in red, you have community over there. Now, society, community. These two terms are used interchangeably often. Often people say society to actually mean community, and sometimes when they say community, they should be saying society. So I want to explain the clear distinction between the two right now. Okay, hold on. This thing, this community are people who have shared values. Therefore, they have a common goal. All right? You go to society, people have shared threats. Often they have a common enemy. You can see it over there. So both in society and community, there are things in common. But society is about restrictions. A community is about direction. Okay? That's very important to understand. A society is a movement. So it's not something you can pick up with your bare hands, like, for example, this stift over here or this whiteboard. It's a movement of people. So it's a, oh Lord, I need to use another stift over here. Let me just use this one. It's a movement. Society is a movement. Community is an establishment. Let me write this with black. I think it's going to be much better. Okay. Society is a movement of adults having a common enemy, and now they restrict one another to avoid this common enemy. The common enemy doesn't have to be another human being. It can also be something like poverty, something like crime, or there's some outcome they're all afraid of. So society is based on fear. A community is based on affection. Okay? Now, looking at these two, which one do you think is more beneficial for your well-being? Society or community? And society is all about restrictions, which are fear-based. It's a fear-based movement of everyone being kept in restrictions. A community is an establishment based on affection in which people have shared values and a common goal. So this direction over here. Which one do you think is better for your well-being? Let me know in the live chat. Society or community? Yep, community does. So I've already explained in a previous live stream that human beings are vulnerable creatures with requirements. In a community, people come together to meet each other's requirement. So that's why they realize we're vulnerable and we need one another. And because we need one another, we develop harmony with one another. That's community. Society is when adults don't want to avoid certain outcomes and afraid of those outcomes, they submit onto a structure of violence, which on the top you have the controllers, then you have the agents dominating the majority of the public. Okay? So how are societies established? It's quite simple. There is one simple formula to establish a society. Invent a threat. Right with me. I know this live stream isn't all about society, but I want to explain to you how societies are made. So you won't fall for this threat. Okay, so write with me in the live chat. Number one, invent a threat. Okay? This is how it goes. Invent a threat. The first step in establishing a society is to invent a threat. For example, in ancient Greece, they acted like they are barbarians all the way from the north of Europe, coming to loot us and attack us and rape us. Oh, so they would promote this propaganda of the barbarians coming. When Rome became the center of world power, they continued this propaganda. So you invent a threat. The most important thing is that people have to believe the threat exists. Now, you know the threat does not exist, but the people have to believe the threat. Second is you repeat. Look at how many exclamation marks I put over here. You keep repeating the threat. Human beings learn by repetition. You see the little children, but also adults learn through repetition. Repetition is natural, as long as repetition is useful. So when you want to create a society, you invent a threat, you trick people to believe the threat is real, then you keep repeating the threat. Eventually, people get anxious of it, and then you have some actions that you take to make the threat appear real. Then you're going to have a reaction from the public. You want to get rid of the threat. And then you have the fake solution coming up. And the fake solution is to have a control mechanism everyone is subjected onto. That is how societies are created. So repeat after me. Invent a threat. One, invent a threat. Second, repeat the threat. Third, take action to prove the threat is real. Four, wait for the reaction of the public. Five, offer solution to the public's reaction. Those 5 steps is how every society is made. So a society has nothing to do with community. People living together, having a shared values and a common goal, the same language, whatever. No. Society is a fear construct that you trap people into so that they never venture out in life. That is society. How do you establish a community? Okay. Admit your neediness. So how do you establish a community? Admit your neediness. Okay. Second, communicate with people. Communicate with people. 3, share share your viewpoints. I'll share your viewpoints, come together to a conclusion. After you came to a conclusion, now you act on those conclusions. So there are five steps in creating a society, and there are five steps in establishing a community. Here I said establish a community and create a society, because a community is based on things that already exist, something real. Society is a dark fiction you trick people to believe is real. That's the big difference. So let's say this one more time about how to create a society, how to establish a community. To create a society, you invent a threat, you repeat a threat, people have to believe it's real, even though it's not. You have to take action, like doing false flags or stage robberies, whatever, to make people believe the threat is real. People are going to become anxious and afraid. That's a reaction. Then come a solution to calm them down, and will be a form of control. And because people just want to get rid of the alleged problem, they won't perceive this as a bad thing. In a community, for a community, you need to have something there where people share the same language, or people live in the same neighborhoods, or people have the same accent, or the people have the same necessities in economy. You need to have something that matches their neediness. You admit your neediness, you communicate your neediness, way that you find like-minded people, then you share viewpoints on how you guys can work together. Then you conclude a way to work together and you act on it. That's how you establish communities. Okay? Totally different. So, one question for those who are present. When I talk about American society, what am I talking about? I'll give you 1 minute to think about this and to answer. If I talk about American society, what is it I'm talking about? I will mute myself 1 minute. Just let me know what you think. When I talk about American society, what am I talking about? Let me know in the live chat. I'll come back after a minute. All right, I'm back. So, I have your answers here. Suzanne says worldliness. Maria says a movement. Conform to control. John says narcissistic. Answers get close. Understand this. When someone talks about a society, they're talking about a movement of avoiding reality. Because whatever threat is around, you need to deal with the threat so that your life can continue. But society is all about avoiding a threat. I already told you, it all is about restrictions. So when we talk about society, we talk about an agreed restriction people follow. That's why I talk about Canadian society or Australian society or Japanese society. You don't hear them talk about the Japanese community or the Australian community. Why? If all of Australia was one big community, that would be fair. You can say talk about Australian community. But because Australia is not one big community, you can't call it community. You have to then when people get along, it's in the form of a society. Society is what the Bible calls the world. Okay? So society is what the Bible calls the world. And we're told you're in the world but not of the world. So we should not be in agreement nor submit to these restrictions. In daily life, you have to get along with other people. You have to be in harmony with other people. So we do abide by laws of the land, we do abide by traffic rules, we do abide by practical stuff. But we're not going to bend over these fear-based restrictions. The Heavenly Father wants us free from this. Instead, believers have to be in safe communities and when necessary to establish communities. All right? Now, let me see. Before I continue, how many of you were taught this difference in school? Just let me know. Whether it's primary school or high school, how many of you were taught this distinction in school between community and society? Let me know in the live chat. It is because public schools prepare you for society to operate in these restrictions, which are fear-based. The public school system can teach you certain things, but it cannot prepare you for community. Community is something you get from your parents, the elders around you, or just the people who are innovating and who are ambitious. Now, communities can be short-term or long-term. Let's say you're in high school and you and some classmates, you like to play video games, so you associate with other teenagers nearby of other high schools, and you play video games together. You just started a gaming community because you have shared values, you have a common goal, so there's direction in it, and you both have the affection when it comes to playing video games, and you share this affection between one another. So you develop a strong bond with fellow gamers. But as you know, you finish high school, you go to college, eventually a lot of you get full-time jobs, so that community disintegrates and it's gone. That was a short-term community. A long-term community is a community that stays longer than 2 years. If community has stayed longer than 2 years, it is a long-term community. All right? So keep remembering this difference. The key thing to remember between society and community is that community can only function with an economy. Society cannot have an economy, but only a financial bubble. Now I'm going to erase all of this over here. Oh, only erase that part. Okay. Let me explain to you. Society only has a financial bubble, which is paranormal. Okay? A community has an economy. So this is a sexually motivated exchange of social relationships. Okay? That's why in many countries you have a minister for finance, then you have a minister of economics, because finances and economics are related, but they're not the same. Finances has to do with who has the currency to pay for goods and services. An economy is how are the goods and services regulated. An economy is sexually motivated. So sexual motivation is the root of every economy. A financial bubble is based on escaping discomfort. An economy is about regulating comfort. Okay? I know my handwriting is not the best right now, but I don't care for now. So understand these two differences. A financial bubble which is paranormally powered to paranormal rituals is all about escaping discomfort. An economy is about regulating the comfort in a community. And it's sexually motivated at the root. So question being, can you have an economy without the sexual motivation? If an economy is a regulation based on sexual motivation, can you have an economy without sexual motivation? Is it possible, you think? Let me know in the live chat. Is it possible? Let me know. Nope, it is not. So, listen to this. In the 17th century, the 17th century was from the years 1600 till 1699. That was the 17th century. And from 1602, 1672, you had the golden age of the Dutch Empire. Those were the 80 years the Dutch ran the world's finances. So 1600 to 1699, that's the 17th century. And in the 17th century, for the most part, was what they call the golden age of the Dutch Empire. It doesn't mean all Dutch people were wealthy and rich. Simply means that the Dutch financiers and Dutch politicians governed the world's finances, and they overruled the Spanish economy. Well, this was rooted in in the slave trade, genocide, all types of other dark stuff. But I'll explain that in another live stream of mine. During the Dutch Empire, they came with this fantastic idea to remove the sexual part from human economies. But as you know, there's no economy without sexual motivation. So what do you have left now? You're left with a fake economy. You're left with a financial bubble that you need to pretend to be a real economy. How is that possible? That's how we developed capitalism. Capitalism is when you fake an economy through quantity. Oh, repeat this after me in the live chat. Capitalism is when you fake an economy through quantity. Repeat in the live chat, it's very important. Capitalism is when you have an economy through quantity. That is why capitalist corporations are so focused on numbers, numbers, grades, numbers, about sales, sales, sales. So, without sexual motivation, you have no economy. And here's something: sexual filthiness destroys an economy. So, sexual motivation isn't sexual provocation, like do with porn and the red light districts. That's sexual provocation. I'm talking about sexual motivation, motivating your community to be at their best. You need healthy sexual motivation, whether it's explicit motivation, which the females will feel a lot, or whether it's soft motivation, where the women are more covered, whatever it is, you need sexual motivation to push the regulation of comfort in the community. That's how an economy works. But if there's no sexual motivation, why would people move? Why would people act? They'll only act out of fear of being homeless. So, to prevent people from realizing they're only acting out of fright, you give them a high quantity of false comforts. And because of that, they don't realize they don't have an actual economy. They only have a bubble. So capitalism is a cover-up for the dysfunction the Dutch Empire normalized in the 17th century. In the 18th century, capitalism kind of began to grow. 19th century was made the norm. 20th century, it had its full course with its counterpart, which is the same, what they call this quote unquote communist bullshit that happened in the East, in Soviet Union. And the 21st century now is when capitalism is crashing because its full defects are open for everyone to see. So if you manage to fake an economy, most of the people will not realize you've hoaxed them and you scammed them. But there's a big problem over here. You have to keep the quantity flowing now. So let's say you make a mobile phone. You can't just make one mobile phone that can last for 5 or 10 years. You have to make a mobile phone that will crash after 1 year, so that every year you need to buy a new mobile phone. So each year, oh, there's a new iPhone out, or there's a new Android phone out, or there's a new watch out, whatever. So every year there's a new phone, the newest hype. And people think, whoa, I don't want to be perceived as lagging behind, so I'm going to buy the new phone. Out of fear of being abandoned and excluded, people buy the new phone. So you have to keep the quantity up. And the circulating of quantity is perceived as success. Same with cars. You can't build a car that will last for decades. You have to build a car on purpose to crash very quickly, so that every 2 or 3 years it's a brand new car. So that people are triggered to think that they have an economy. So let me tell you one thing. The West has no economy. So that's why I talk about Western society. Because all these countries that they call the West have this common avoidance through this financial bubble of capitalism. So there's no such thing as Western community, because that doesn't exist. But Rashid, don't we have the same values? Sorry, society has no values. Society only has interests. Communities have values. Societies have interests. So the West has no economy as a whole. Are there local economies here and there? In some countries here and there? Yes. But the problem is those local economies are crushed by the fake economy of capitalism. And most people don't see the difference between a real economy and a fake one. The fake economy will only drain you and suck you dry. A real economy benefits you and makes you more empathetic towards other people. A real economy makes you empathetic, wanting to relate better to other people. A financial bubble makes you greedy, wanting to avoid losses. So, do you think that the present day mega corporations worldwide, which side do you think they are interested in communities? Let me know. Do you think the mega corporations in the world today are interested in communities? Let me know in the live chat. What do you think? Let me know. hmm Maria says no. What does the rest say? No, because those mega corporations can only function by faking an economy. So a real economy is a threat to them. But why don't we? Why? For there are real economies on the earth. There are. But what we call the Western world, Australia, New Zealand, to some extent Japan and South Korea, and Europe and Canada and United States, what they call the Western world. The reason why in the Western world you barely find economies is because the sexual motivation has been dried out. In nations where sexual motivation is part of daily life, you have the local economies. But what about society, Rashid? Yes, you have societies, those areas also, because you know those are world things they escape. But besides society, you also have the actual communities around. But a community doesn't have to be you all like gaming. It can also be we all live in the same around the same beach. And because of that we get along in this beach area. There can also be a community. Community is natural. We're built for community. We're not built for society. Society is like a vampire sucking the life out of you. So I've explained the steps how to start a community. Admit your neediness. You know, a lot of people think that when it comes to tyranny, you have to fight tyranny. Fight, fight, fight. Now, fighting against tyranny will work, but only on a short term. Often one tyranny is replaced by another. If your only goal is to get rid of a threat, what happens when the threat is over? How are you going to get along? So, the best way to get rid of tyranny is to replace it with community. The more communities you have, the less the less room for society there will be. If you have no communities around, society seems like the best thing ever. So it's difficult to start a society, to create a society, because you need to put a lot of effort to scare the people and keep the threat going. But it's extremely easy to establish a community. The number one thing you need is what makes your neediness. All right? So all believers worldwide can come together and start their own communities, just like that. Once you have the communities, you develop economies, and once you have economies, wealth comes in, riches for the communities are established, and guess what? Then there's financial independence. That's how it works. But too many believers are so invested in the financial bubble of society. And the most dominant bubble worldwide is capitalism. So it's quite simple. You want to walk in the blessings of God, you have to have communities. The Heavenly Father works with and through communities. The Heavenly Father never operates in society. Jesus never operated in society. So why are we insisting in operating in society? Listen, you are in society. but you're not of society. So you're around the society, but you're not part of it. That's how it should be. We should have our own communities. But you know why a lot of communities don't last? A lot of communities today, I mean, it's because people are so used to the quote unquote certainty of escaping through violence. Because a community requires you to admit your neediness and to be vulnerable. And a lot of people hate being vulnerable. So if you hate being vulnerable, then you can't be part of a community. You'll end up being stuck in some society or the other. But now, what is the public? Public refers to people who are exposed to something. If I ride a bicycle outside, then people that see me are the public. If there's a theater performance, all the ones attending the theater performance as just to look at it are the public. If there's a football match happening and you have people supporting the teams coming to check the football match, the people that come are the public. Public refers to those who are exposed to something. If you bake an apple pie and the smell of the apple pie goes all to the neighborhood, then the neighborhood is the public. You hear me? So the public is just a term to reveal who is exposed to something. You could be the public when you're exposed to something. If there's a lot of rain outside, you are the public exposed to the effect of the rain, if you're affected by it. If there's a shooting happening in a community, then the locals who are traumatized by the shooting, they are the public. So public is just a term to refer to those who are affected by something. You hear me? And the public is always a collective, more than two. So public health. Does the term public health even make sense now? Does the term public health even make sense? If public simply means people are exposed to something. Wouldn't it be more sane to speak about community health? You definitely can't talk about societal health because society and health don't go together. You can't operate in fear and end up being well in life. Cannot happen. Public publicity. Publicity simply means you're exposed to the public. If you're exposed to a lot of people, you have publicity because you have a public that you're affecting. People who are watching my live streams now are my public because I'm affecting them because they watch my live streams. But here's the thing. Publicity itself does not guarantee a good outcome. Fame is when society recognizes you. That is fame. When you have a lead, when you have a key function in the community, then you have um, how you call it. Then you have influence. Influence is when in a community you have a key role. Whether it's the baker, or whether it's a musician, or whether the one who spreads the news. Fame is when society says you're allowed to be seen only if you promote the restrictions. Fame is bound to restrictions. Influence is directed to benefit the public. So why should you want fame if you can have influence? It's easy to obtain influence. You just have to be you have to have develop emotional intelligence and learn how to relate to people. Fame, you have to go to rituals, all types of restrictions to have it. And that's why celebrities always pamper with all this quantity. Oh, this singer sold 10 million albums. Oh, that businessman, he made a $1 billion business deal. They always throw all these quantities at you. Because listen, the quantity is to hide the lack of quality. I'm not saying having a lot of money is wrong. If you have a lot of money, use for the good for God's kingdom. And also use it to benefit yourself and other people. Absolutely. But If you only put high quantities of cash around to impress, why would you throw a lot of cash around to impress? You throw all the cash around because there's quality that's missing. So all the cash is let people think that there's quality. But if you throw all the cash, you realize, okay, where's the quality then? Again, there's nothing wrong with wearing jewelry, nice fancy clothes, or driving a nice car. There's nothing wrong with luxury. There is nothing wrong with luxury. But if you throw luxury in people's face over and over again, all that quantity of luxury is to hide the lack of quality. Lord have mercy. Lord have mercy. But isn't that what a lot of people are looking for? The flesh of the world? Well, the flesh society is a hoax because there's no quality there. One more thing, a community is rich. The members are wealthy. Individuals are never rich. Communities are rich. The members will benefit of the rich are wealthy. Society is neither rich nor wealthy. Society is a narcissist pretender. That's what society is. So, is this big difference between society and community clear onto you? Let me know in the live chat. Let me know. By the way, I don't say high quantity automatically means there's no quality. You can have quality and reproducing. You can have quality and duplicate it in quantity. So high quantity doesn't automatically mean there's no quality. I mean, quality can be there in quantity, absolutely. But not all quantity implies quality. You can spread quality in quantity, but you can never turn quantity into quality. There must be quality there. The only time quantity can become quality is if the quantity is improved. But that's going to be difficult to do if there's too much quantity already. Quantity can become quality only if whatever is there in quantity is reformed. So quantity by itself does not guarantee quality, but you can extend quality. You can extend quality through quantity, but from quantity to quality doesn't happen that way. The quantity has to be reformed. This is what human beings need. This is what we need to be delivered from. Are there any questions about this topic? Let me know right now. Let me know now in the live chat. Just understand, communities need a direction. So some communities are small, some communities are big. For example, let's say you want to address everyone who speaks English as a native language. All the people speaking English together are not one giant community. In this case, that's what you call a sphere, the Anglosphere, means everyone with English as a native language. The Francosphere, the area where everyone's native language is French. You know what I mean? Or Lusophone, everyone whose native language is Portuguese, comes from Lusitania, the previous name of Portugal. Now, again, a community has a direction. Truth being told, you have universal communities. Think about what I call the Black community, based on the common history of Black people worldwide, their struggles, and how it shaped Black cultures worldwide. So that's what we call the Black community. It doesn't mean every Black individual individually intimately knows one another. So it means they're part of the same establishment. even though it's a universal community, so it's quite big. You know what I mean? But then you also have smaller communities. For example, the Mennonites, for example, they are a small community. They are communities that perpetuate themselves throughout the generations internally. So that's why they talk about Western society, not Western community. So now you know. We all should want communities. Now, a community can be inclusive in the sense that almost anyone can join, or exclusive. You can only join on certain criteria. A community can be exclusive if that exclusivity serves a greater good. If exclusivity does not serve a greater good, it's a cult. So there's no such thing as a community that's a cult. A community and a cult are two completely different things. The reason why a lot of cults are called community because people don't know the difference. A cult is when a lot of people come together to escape the rest of the world. That's a cult. If a bunch of people come together in an exclusive way to achieve something better for the rest, that's just an exclusive community. And it's not about an exclusive community as long as the greater good they contribute to is worth it. Simple as that. No, community is not the same as principality. No. Principality has to deal with a tiny form of government, a tiny kingdom. So how do you establish community from scratch? I already told you. Admit neediness, communicate with other people, and we as believers can use the resurrection power of Christ to decrease declarations also. Build your communities, please. We need more communities so we can replace the tyranny in this world. Amen. Any other questions about this topic? Let me know now. I'll wait for another minute, see if there are any questions. So I want all of you to either participate in the community or to contribute to formation of new Christ-centered communities. All right? And I didn't say that communities by default are all good. There are also communities out there who turn bad, who turn sour, or who get involved in crime and all of that. So I didn't say that just every community out there is good. Communities can become dysfunctional too. Communities can become ill too. And that's why communities need integrity in order for them to function properly. Integrity simply means you value your own well-being as a group. Every community must have community integrity, which means you value your own well-being as a whole group. Amen? Listen, society is a movement of escapism. So if you're in escapism, your sexual health goes backwards. So you cannot be motivated if you are in escapism continuously. So sexual motivation becomes impossible to benefit you if you are in a constant escapism. If you are sexually motivated out there, you realize very quickly that society is going to is not going to function well for you. Amen. So the exceptions end up building their own communities because they realize that, man, this thing doesn't work for me. Amen. Any other questions? Let me know. Again, I did not say that building communities and maintaining communities is an easy thing, especially in dealing with a lot of people who've been traumatized by society. But it is worth it. I don't know what your question is about, Suzanne. I am celebrate. What do you mean with I am? What is I am celebrate? I don't understand you. Oh, celibate. Well, sexual motivation, as explained in other live streams, does not mean you go around having sex with everyone to make them feel happy. Simply means you, as a female, you act, dress, talk in a way to make the community, especially after sex, feel welcome and to push them to do better for the community as a whole. That's what it means. You could be celibate and still contribute to sexual motivation and be part of the economy. Amen? All right. Well, that's it for now. Thank you all for being here. Keep on with Christ. I'll see you next live stream. Shalom.